the Aszu wines of Tokaj, which for the intensity of flavour that they have, and the freshness and the length on your palate afterwards, have been world famous for about 3 centuries. Long, long before anybody had heard of Sauternes, they were lapping up the Tokaj from these vineyards. Great Tokaj evokes every sort of dried fruit: apricot, raisin, fig, peach, pear, orange, quince, with honey and butterscotch richness, and with unplumbable depths, hinting at oak, even at cigars. Tokaj has been produced in the northeast corner of Hungary since the 17th century, maybe much earlier. This part of Eastern Europe was settled by the mighty Magyars, warriors who combined the appearance of Vikings and cowboys. When it came under attack from the expanding Turkish Empire, its ruler, the famous Prince Rákóczi, used Tokaj, his uniquely famous sweet wine, as a diplomatic weapon. Victims of his charm offensive included Louis XIV of France, Le Roi Soleil, and nobody could have been more appreciative. "Madame," he remarked to his mistress, "this is the king of wines, and the wine of kings." Even royal patrons were not certain of supplies. The Russian Tsars Peter and the lusty Catherine kept Cossack troopers in Tokaj to guard their supplies. Very little reached Western Europe. When communism cut off its markets, the motivation went too. By the 70s and 80s, the state monopoly was producing a uniform brew, with rare exceptions brown and dull, a travesty of its potential and its past. 1989 was the year of unrevolution, the unravelling of the communist bloc. That autumn, a small group of us went to Tokaj to start a joint venture with some of the best remaining wine growers. Our aim was to identify the best vineyards, re-enthuse their growers with the idea of quality, and recreate the fabulous wines of the past. We called the venture the Royal Tokaj Wine Company. Royal Tokaj now has offices in London St James's and Mad, the little town where the venture began, surrounded by first and second growth classified vineyards. One of the key aims of the company has been to identify and reunite these individual vineyards. They were the first ever to be classified in 1700, a century and a half before Bordeaux or Burgundy. What is it makes Tokaj unique among the whole world's wines? Certainly its indigenous grape varieties, which are high in extract and acid. Certainly its volcanic soils, subject to an extreme continental climate. But also its autumn mornings, when mist rising from its 2 rivers provides perfect conditions for the development of noble rot, Botrytis cinerea. Other wines are made with Botrytis grapes, even such Sauternes as Chateau Yquem, but only Tokaj Aszu is made by the painstaking process of separating the dry grapes from the juicy ones, then reuniting them a year later in a second fermentation. The juicy grapes are fermented naturally to make a normal dry wine. This is the base wine. The Aszu grapes from this vintage are then added to last year's base wine. Their sugar makes it briefly re-ferment, leaving a wine with fairly low alcohol, but very high sugar and intense flavour. How sweet it is depends on how many potonyos, the Hungarian word for a 25-kilo bucket, of Aszu grapes goes into a barrel of base wine. For the intensely rich and yet crisply balanced wines of Royal Tokaj, the answer is usually five buckets, making a final wine with about 200 grams per litre of sugar, about 11% alcohol, and with an all-important 11 degrees of total acidity. The backbone of the Royal Tokaj list is the exclusive blends, released ready for drinking, not that they won't keep, after 3 years. These are the blue label Imperial Reserve and the red label Tsar Reserve. After that, there are the single vineyard wines, such as the first growth Betzek, deep, broad and earthy, Neolazo, vibrant and orangey, or St Thomas, an incredible amalgam of exotic flavours. Each has a very different character. These are wines for serious cellar aging, irresistible as they are the moment you first sip them. The rare Aszu Essentia, honey sweet, is only available in exceptional years. At the very top of the scale is Essentia, the pure syrup from the rotten berries, incredibly thick and only very slightly alcoholic. So how should one drink Tokaj? One thing we've discovered is it's fantastically adaptable. Being sweet and refreshing at the same time, it's just as delicious chilled as an aperitif as it is drunk after a meal like a traditional dessert wine. It is wonderful with food, especially foie gras, rich blue cheeses, lobster, or anything inherently rich and sweet. For those who love chocolate and oranges, it is the only dessert wine that lives up to their powerful flavours and comes through still refreshing. And for cigar smokers, some recommend dunking the unlit end of a cigar in the wine to sweeten your smoke.
Tokaj is unique in its flavours, in its adaptability, in its history, and now for the way that its rediscovered quality is sweeping the wine world. For me, working on the renaissance of this great wine with the Royal Tokaj Wine Company has been the most exciting project possible. It combines romantic history with a completely different way of winemaking, leading to a taste of the future. It's a journey of discovery and a passion. And I hope that you'll share this passion with me.